I was 29 weeks pregnant and 6 days, so just at my 30th week, I was admitted to hospital. I thought I was sick, and I said to my husband, I think you have to take me to the hospital. So we went to the hospital, and within 5 hours of being in triage, I was rushed by ambulance to a more serious trauma center in Toronto. I was sent to Sunnybrook, and within 24 hours, my baby was delivered.
Did you ever get an official sort of diagnosis for what was happening in that moment, why you were in?
Yeah, absolutely. I knew right away. So it was called HELP syndrome, which the non-medical definition, I had elevated proteins and my liver enzymes were out of whack, and my body was basically failing me. The danger was not so much for the baby, but it was for me.
What do you mean by that?
I could have died at any point of that day. The doctors wanted to keep that baby in as long as possible, but they kept checking my blood and my numbers were getting worse, not better. With medication, with drugs, they were getting worse. And they didn't want me to die.
And were you having conversations with your husband at this point, back and forth about what was going on?
I think we just knew. I mean, I asked, when I was first admitted to the first hospital, it was, how long is this baby gonna stay? And the doctor said, well, you're not gonna go back to work. It'll likely be in the next week or two. And I thought, oh, that's way too early. It's way too early. And then from a week, it went to a couple more days. And then from a couple more days, it was, you're having this baby today.
What were you thinking of then when you got that news?
I don't know. I don't know what I was thinking. I was thinking, oh my goodness, we're not ready. We don't have anything. We didn't even have a camera. We weren't ready to have a baby that day. It wasn't the joy that most parents experience on their first child. Isabelle was in kind of a critical situation for 2 weeks. Because she was born at 30 weeks, most area hospitals at the time, and this is only 4 years ago, weren't equipped to take care of 30-week-old babies. Most took them at 32, some even a little bit older. So we had to stay at a level 3 hospital until she was old enough to be transferred to another hospital. So she stayed there for 2 weeks.
So tell me about the care that Isabelle got here.
I have such regard for the doctors and the nurses in the NICU here at Mackenzie Health. The level of care that we received is bar none. I'm still friends and friendly with the doctors and nurses that took care of our baby day in and day out. They really became like a family, and I know that sounds cliche. They were the nurses, but they were our teachers. They taught us so much about not being afraid to hold the baby. They know babies. I didn't know babies. This was my first baby, and it was a surprise delivery, and she was a really, really teeny baby, and a breakable baby to me, right? Mm-hmm. She was so small. So, you know, your protective instincts kick in, and you want to be extra, extra, extra gentle. And you know, they would say, you know, she's a little bit more resilient than you think. She's a fighter. Preemies are fighters.
Did that shift your perspective in some way, hearing that?
I think just over time, watching the nurses interact and watching them pick up other babies, and you know, you're always a little bit fearful as a new parent anyway. Am I holding them okay? Do I support their head? Are they okay?
Mm-hmm. I can see you're grateful, aren't you, for the care that you got her?
Yeah, I get emotional just thinking about it. Because I really think like they helped nurture my baby when I couldn't be there. And that's, you know, you can't put a price tag on that. I can't even articulate it with words. It's just, you can't replace that. And it pains a mom and a dad to not be there 24 hours a day, because I should be there. Everyone has a different story. Some preemies are much sicker. Others are a little bit older, and you know, they don't really qualify as premature babies. We're kind of in the middle, which I like to be. You know, I don't like to discount her prematurity, but it doesn't define her either. So I will always remember the fact that I got sick, the fact that I had the instincts to go to the hospital, the fact that she was born early and we stayed in hospital for 9 weeks. I will never forget that. That was her start of her life. But being premature doesn't ever define Isabelle, and it doesn't define me.